Okay, we go to the Chumash of today. We're holding today is the Wednesday, the fourth reading in the portion of Shemini. We're holding on chapter 10, verse number 12. And God spoke to Moshe and Aaron saying, and Moses spoke to Aaron and Elazar his son, but not one of his Sodom, his leftover sons, those that didn't die. Of course, I mean, so I take the offering, the meal offering, and it said it's means Hashem that is left over from what you brought on the altar. And you have to eat these as matzahs besides the altar. Kodesh Kadashim, because it's holy of holies. Now she says on his Sadim is the interesting word. We know who's left. We know we know how many children Aaron had, and we know how many left over. So what does it tell us over here? Aaron's sons who survived death. Here, since the verse alludes to the fact that Eliezer and his son survived death, must mean that a death which penalty that he himself had incurred. This teaches us that because of the sin of the golden calf, the death penalty had been imposed upon them too. So it was all connected to the ego. This is the meaning, and with Aaron, the Lord was very angry to destroy him, Hashmidai, as it says later in Deuteronomy. The term Hashmada, destruction, also means the next destruction of children, as it said, by the destroyed Ashmid, his fruit above, referring to his children. Moshe's prayer, however, affected the nullification of half of the decree, resulting in the survival of Elazar and his son, that they did not die. And it said, and I prayed also for Aaron at that time. So therefore, they survived Hanusarim. They should have passed away, but they survived due to Moshe Rabbeinu's prayer. The problem was they were mourners. And it was the day of the mourning. It was the day of the funeral. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells, even though you're owning him, which means you're mourners for a close relative, the day of the relative's demise, that day of the funeral, they're called an oinen. And the holy sacrifice are forbidden for an oinen. So really, they should have been forbidden to have any of the sacrifice. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu tells them to eat for the sacrifice because they were not allowed to be mourned. They were not allowed to mourn Aaron and the sons. As a mincha, this is the meal offering of the 8th day of the investors of the Miluyim, and the meal offering of Nachshon ben Aminadav, who brought the first day, the Chodesh Nisan. This is all the Chodesh Nisan. Nachshon ben Aminadav brought the Nasi. He was the first one who brought the carbon for his tribe, the tribe of Yehuda. She says we already know that the meal offering must be eaten on leaven. So what did the Torah teach us? Since it's a communal meal offering, a special meal offering brought exclusively at that time, and there's nothing like that in the future generations, this meal offering. Therefore, the pasuk found it necessary to specify the law of other meal offerings. In the context, to teach us that those laws apply to this meal offering as well, that it needs to be matzahs. It needs to be unleavened, like Pesach matzahs. You shall eat in a holy place. Because it's a portion to you and your children. Hashem, for the offerings of God, this I've commanded. This comes to teach us, in general, that kachi sacrifices or minchos that were brought in the Beis Hamikdash, or needed to be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash, were only allowed to the Kehanim, the men Kehanim who did the service in the Beis Hamikdash. Kach Kalim were allowed to be brought home. The Kohen could have brought it home. And that part of that meal could be eaten by his children who were home. But these Kach were not allowed. He was not allowed to take it home. And it was only allowed by the Kehanim who did the service. And that's therefore, no women did service in the Beis Hamikdash, the Karbanis, and therefore they didn't eat from the carbon. The children, the daughters, and his wife also doesn't have the kachim. He came to Visu, and this way I commanded that even though in halacha, if it will be in the future, that if a kohen would lose a parent or lose a child, they would be an einin, especially the first day of the funeral. But over here is different. They were in the middle of dedication of the temple. They were not allowed to mourn. It's chaziat nufesh shekatruma. The breast of waving, the thigh of raising up. You have to eat it. The makam tar in a clean place. Oh, over here the Torah allows them. This is shalmi tzibur. This is a kachim kalim. You can take it. You can in essence eat it. They were not allowed to leave the Beis Hamikdash. If they had any daughters, they could have come to the Beis and eat it there. Because this was given to you, shlamim. Peace offerings were given to you and your sons. Was given to you for the peace offerings of Jewish. And Rashi says, communal peace offerings, which were brought in that day, your family can eat for it. You shall eat in a holy place. Wow, Rashi says, did they eat it previously sacrificed in an unclean place? Rather, the previous sacrifices were holy of holies. And as such, they were required to be eaten in a holy place. These, however, were not required to eat in the hangings of the courtyard. It was not required to eat in the Beis Hamikdash. Notwithstanding, they'll still be eaten within the camp of Israel, which is clean. And so far, they were not afflicted with seiras, would not enter therein. From here, we learn that the law of sacrifice with a less degree, kachim kalim, may be eaten anywhere in the city of Jerusalem. And these specific communal place offering had a status of kachim kalim, a lower degree of holiness. And therefore, they were allowed to be eaten in the Holy Yerushalayim. You and your sons endure. You and your sons have a portion. Your daughters, however, do not have a portion. Yet if you give them sacrificial as a gift, they are permitted to eat from the breast and the thigh. How do we know this? That the verse means that the daughters also receive a portion. Therefore, the Torah states, continuation of this verse, for as you, your portion and your son's portion, they have been given. Given as a portion is only to the sons who did the service of the Beis Hamikdash, but not a portion. There's no concept of the daughters having a portion of the carbon when they didn't do the service of the Beis Hamikdash. But since they were Kohanim, they were allowed to eat from it in the family. You can give it to them to eat. Verse 15, they shall bring the thigh of raisin, and raise at the breast of waving upon the fats. They should bring it as a waving to God. It should be to you and your sons for an everlasting stature, as God has commanded. She says, Sheikh Atrum v'chazat nufa. Sheikh Atrum v'chazat. These words are related to expression which was raised hunaf and which was lifted huda. Nufa is waving. Is performed by a forward and backward motion. With truma is lifting. To perform an upward and downward motion. Why did the Torah separate the lifting up in reference to the thigh and the waving in reference to the breast? We do not know, since both of them are lifted and waved. So Rashi said, I don't know why the Torah separates it, but both of them need, whether it's the thigh or the breast, both of them need to be uplifted and waved. Rashi says, this part of the pasuk, this phrase is really equivalent to al ishach love, meaning upon the fats of the fire offering. From here we learned that the fats were placed underneath the breast and the higher and the thigh portion at the time of waving. And then the verse says, both states that the sacrifice fats were placed on top of the breast, thus seemingly contradicting our verse here, which states they shall bring the thigh and the breast upon the fats. So we all know, because we learned Chitas, and we, however, have already explained the resolution of these, I already explained, so they did not contradict. the way it would begin with the fats were on the bottom, but then as he gave it to the next kohen, he flipped it over and he put the fat, he put the thigh, the breast on the bottom, and the fat's on top. And we know that already. Rashi has explained that already, that in chapter 7, verse 30, and we learned that already. And that completes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day. So, today is Wednesday. We go to the middle of chapter 40. So the Alter Rebbe was explaining that the Torah that we learn, Shalei Lishma, doesn't reach up anywhere. Doesn't go above the sun. Stays in this world. It has been demonstrated that the Torah is studied out of habit, without personal motive, yet lacking any intention of Lishma, cannot ascend on high to be absorbed into the spheres. That's what the Alter Rebbe explained. Alter Rebbe now proceeds to explain why this is a little Kabbalistic, but let's learn it. Difficulty, the Torah and God are one. That's the problem. The Torah is Chachmas Shalakot. And Torah, Araisa v'Kojuvi Chakul Achad. The Zohar said that Torah and God is one. Can't separate the two. Thus, the Torah is higher even than the spheres. Just as God's will transcends the spheres, why does the Torah need one's kavanah to elevate to the spheres? The Torah is God. The Torah is as he says, although the Torah and the Holy One, blessed be, are altogether one, for he, his will is one. The Torah represents his will. Nevertheless, the Torah did not descend on high without kavanah. Alter Rebbe still says, nevertheless doesn't work. The reason stated in brief, the words of Torah that one speaks are physical, as are all things in this material world. True, they are holy words. The divine life force within them is not concealed and veiled as other material things, yet being physical, the words of Torah share with all physical existence a divine life force that is greatly contracted and limited. That's it. So therefore, once we say words of Torah, you have now made it into a physical concept. And once you've made it into a physical concept, now it has some trappings of the physical world. So therefore, they cannot ascend to God's spheres unless they are impelled by kavanah, meaning a spiritual intention generated by love and fear of God, which elevates the words of Torah and causes the divine will to be revealed. Let's see it out to Rebbe's words. This is the words of the Zohar. The Holy One, blessed be He, fills all the worlds alike. Yes, the worlds are not equal in rank. So you have those two things. The Eibishter fills all the worlds. I fill the entire world. Nevertheless, at the same moment, the worlds are different. Eilam Atzilus is higher. Eilam Yitzira is higher than Eilam Asiyah. In this world itself, you have Moshe Rabbeinu, you have regular people. So there's very different levels of the concept of the way the Eibishter ultimately comes in each and every single world. And therefore the difference is not by God, chas v'shalom. The difference is by the ones who receive the godly, the illumination, due to the recipient's divine life force in twofold. Number one, so the first concept is the higher world's beings receive an illumination infinitely greater than the illumination received by the lower. Basheni, and the second problem with the lower worlds is the higher ones receive this illumination without many garments and veils as the lower ones. And now this world, this physical world, this world is the lowest of it. That's why this world is Dina B'Tachtonim. This is the lowest world on two levels. Number one, it's a contracted in many garments. And number two is it doesn't have the capability of receiving such a high light. Number one, illumination, divine force within it is greatly contracted to the furthest degree. This world, that's why this world is corporal and material. And furthermore, this contraction illumination is clothed in many garments and veils. Until it's clothed in klippas nega, in a covering that shines. To give life to all things that are permitted in this world. In general, nefesh hachayunis is the animated soul, hamadaberes sheba'adim, that animates the intelligent soul of man in this world. As mentioned earlier in the chapter, all permitted objects receive vitality via klippat nega, the covering that shines, and can therefore serve either as good or evil purpose. So therefore, since everything comes in a clip here, everything comes in a covering, therefore, we can do things that are permitted, and chas v'shalom, we can do things that are not permitted. There was a revelation of God that we would never be able to do things that's not permitted. But because God comes in a contracted way, because we are, as we say tonight in the Haggadah, that we are in Galus, we are Anan Avdei Achashverosh, we are the servants of Achashverosh, which is our own Yetzer Hara, which are our own, my own vital soul. I'm a little bit bound to him. The question is, how much is my slavery to him? So therefore, in my situation, that I am a person that is so, my soul is so contracted within me. Therefore, when the animating soul says words of Torah or prayer without kavanah, concealment characteristics of this world is absent. Yet the contraction still applies as follows. Though we are saying holy words, thus in this case, the klippas nega of the animating soul does not constitute a veil of separation. Which can conceal and cover the divine holiness. Closing these letters. As klippas nega conceals and covers divine holiness in animated soul, and others idle chatter over there totally covers over the kedusha. And divine holiness in the animated soul of other ritual, clean, living creatures. With klippas nega likewise conceals the divine lifers. After less, for although no place is devoid of him, and his presence is found in man's animating soul, even when he engages in idle talk and the life souls of living creatures. Zayah says, nevertheless, he's the most hidden one of all that is hidden. That means God is hidden in the hidden. And God's called the hidden God, for he's hidden from all creation. Similarly, the illumination and extension of vitality from is hidden in many dense garments and veils. Until it's finally clothed and hidden in the garments of Nega, which completely conceals man's divine life source when he engages in idle talk and life force in other animals as stated. This is all when you speak idle talk. Different, however, with holy letters, in the words of Torah and prayer. Here not only is the Klippas Nega not obscure godliness, but on the contrary, Klippas Nega transformed into good. V'nechlelos b'kedusha, and is absorbed in this holiness, k'niskalel. So again, thus the second of the above mentioned traits that makes this world the lowest world, namely the complete concealment of the divine life force in the garments of Klippas Nega, is absorbed in the Torah study and prayer. So the second problem is not there because it becomes totally connected to Kedusha. But the first trait, Alter Rebbe will now state, is present even in these holy words. They are physical. They are all, as all things in this world. So that contraction of divine life force that characterizes physical matters in general applies to these worlds as well. And that's the problem. Nevertheless, the illumination, maybe my connection is totally connected, but the illumination, the way God illuminates through my connection, is totally hidden. Nevertheless, the illumination from His holiness that these words contain is contracted to the fullest degree, since the voice and speech out of the words prayer are material. I'm a human being. So therefore, even though when I learn Torah in essence, my words come totally connected with Ein Sof, because I'm saying the words of Torah, and the Torah is not separate from God. But what my words illuminate in this world, since I'm a human being, and I said it in physical words, it only can illuminate in a physical world. And that physical world hides the illumination of God because God contracts Himself. And this illumination should not nullify the physical world. But you imagine if I would say words of Torah and there would be a revelation of God through those words of Torah, then I would baruch nishmasim, as that happened in Matan Torah, that we would pass out. We would not be able to survive. So therefore, my connection above is a complete connection. My words of Torah go above in a complete connection. But the illumination of these words, that these words become illuminated with godliness in a way that it can shine in its true way, that God contracts. That the illumination of godliness is contracted. So that the world or the word would not be able, should not shine the way it needs to shine, because I'm a human being. And especially, I'm in Gullus, I'm in this Elam Agashmi. That's not only a physical world, but it's also a mundane world. It's also extremely, in a way, Gullus, it's an exiled world. So therefore, God makes sure, it's a chesed, great kindness that God did, that He makes sure to contract the illumination, that it should not shine in its fullest, so that I would be able to continue to learn Torah in this physical, mundane, and sometimes, in a way, evil world that we live. Therefore, though the Torah is one with God, the words of Torah will not ascend to the spirits without kavanah, since godliness within them is so greatly great. And therefore, for me even to bring about a greater unity between my learning Torah and the Sfira Eliyona, I need to have kavanah. I need to do it as much as possible in the aspect of the Shema, the sake of the Torah, the sake of Kedusha, the sake of the that's in the Torah, not only for the sake of selfish or even for no reason at all. That completes the Tanya of the day. Self-understood. Next 3 days, hopefully you'll continue to learn Chitas on your own as we go into Yantiv. So hopefully you'll continue to learn Chumash and Tanya and Mishnah. Next week on Sunday, we will come back and start Pasha Shmini again. So you'll know Pasha Shmini very well. And we'll continue to learn Tanya. We'll pick up the Tanya on Sunday from that from where we're holding in Tanya today. I want to wish you all a wonderful Chag Pesach, Kosher V'Sameach. You all have a wonderful and beautiful Pesach, Kosher Pesach. You only have simchas in your life. We should go out of Gullus. as the Baal Shem Tov said, Mashiach said, by learning Siddur, we will go out of Gullus, by Sifra delay. As Botam the Sefer Isaiah, today we learn Sefer Isaiah. And with the Sefer Isaiah, with Siddur, the Kabbalah, will ultimately redeem from Gullus. I hope and I pray that we all celebrate God of Gullus as the Yidden went out of Gullus tonight and tomorrow. And we'll go march to our nation to the Holy Land. I wish you all a beautiful, happy, and wonderful Pesach.